I'm recording now. There we go. All right, so got a few people joining in, and we can wait probably another. So I don't know if some of these folks will start popping in here any minute. So we've gotten 3 people on here now.
Hi, everyone.
Hey. All right, so I'll get started. Do the we can do some chit chat for. Well, we got a couple more minutes. I told 8:40. So
Okay, a few more minutes.
So yeah, any questions about Blab at this point? Did I explain it pretty well enough?
Yeah, not from my end. Seems cool. Seems like a really seems like a nice alternative to Hangouts.
Yeah, I like it from the social standpoint too. Hangouts is pretty closed off, I think. This makes it easier for people to comment and connect.
Yeah.
And then inviting them in is really easy. Taking them in and out is really, really easy. And then it only limits it to 4. So, which I hope they stay at that. You know, it would be crazy having 6 or 8 people on your screen.
Yeah. Well, it's cool too because there's it's integrated with Twitter, and as we know, Google's slowly been moving away from Google Plus.
Yeah.
And Hangouts, and actually expanding, the way it displays, tweets and search. So I already like that about it.
Yeah. All right. Another minute, and then we'll get rolling here. Yeah. So Twitter owns Periscope, and I think Periscope pretty much works the same way as this. So we got Periscope and Meerkat are the 2 dead-on competitors that do the one-way streaming. Have you gotten into Periscope at all, or Meerkat? Have you looked into them?
I haven't. I did some Hangouts, back in the day, and I probably should. So how would you compare Periscope and Meerkat to Blab?
So Periscope, Meerkat, both of them are one-way communication. So and you can only use your phone for it. So we're doing this all from a desktop, and so but it's the same concept as all 3. You create a topic, and from that topic, like we're doing today, talk. What are we going to talk about? And then you turn on Periscope like a broadcast, and you broadcast to, and that's through your Twitter account since it's owned by Twitter. Periscope is, and you can get followers and people to connect with you, but you can't type engage with. The only way to engage with someone on Meerkat and Periscope, at least. I haven't spent a whole lot of time on Meerkat. I've been mostly on Periscope. You can only answer questions by talking. You can't chat back and forth since you're using your mobile device. So it's a one-way communication, talking in front of your screen without you and I talking. And then people respond through chat. They can chat back and say, hey, this is cool, ask questions. That can be feeded right into Twitter. Then there's the hearts. So they have the whole heart system, and you just click your screen and then the hearts go up. And so when you're on Periscope, you'll see each person that has an account, it'll see how many hearts they have. Some, the top folks on there have millions of hearts already. When it was early, when Periscope first came out in the end of March, early April, there were some folks on there just seeing how long they can stay on Periscope without getting off, or they would turn it on early in the morning and stand there all day and not turn it off. And they were getting 10 million hearts, whatever. People are just sitting there watching them, leaving them open while they're working at the office, just watching them. They would talk about whatever. But anyways, they kind of cleaned up some of the clutter early on. There's a lot of weirdos on there. They call them trolls. People coming in. It could even happen today, where people will come in and try to spam you or something, and then you can block them. So okay. Periscope and Meerkat have kind of cleaned out a lot of that.
So it sounds like it's more for video streaming, but it does have that community element to it. So listeners can engage, you can follow people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of the marketers are using it to talk about, they're going to have their daily program on there. It's just them talking to their audience, and they're doing little tips and tricks and things. But a lot of reporters are using it too out in the field now. So when we had the Baltimore riots a few months back, the reporters are going right out in the streets, turning on their Periscope and just recording what they see and talking to people and interviewing them and getting it live. And then CNN was putting it right on there. So you didn't need the cameras. The cameras were probably scaring people off. You just had your phones. So, but where Blab comes in, like this platform, you take the same concept of that because you can use all the platforms. Now you have 4 people to talk to. So it's not just a one way. It's not just me talking. It's you and I having a conversation, 2 others. Then you have the chat back and forth. So everything we say goes on Twitter as well. And you can invite people in and out. So
can you join from your mobile device?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And you can broadcast from your mobile device. So I was on a Blab platform yesterday where the guy was in a hotel and the internet wasn't good, so he just used his phone to do his broadcast.
Okay.
Fine. So, yeah. All right. So we'll get started, and I'm recording it. So afterwards we'll post it, and those who are not here can replay it later. So that's what a lot of folks are doing. So, all right. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So what I thought we'd do today is introduce yourself, a little bit about your background, and then we'll go right into some of these tips about mostly SEO things, and then a little bit on social media as well. So I got a couple questions for you, and you can respond to them. And then at the end, if anyone comes in that wants to ask some questions, we'll go ahead and let them have at it.
Very nice. Well, cool. Well, I guess I'll get started with a quick background. My name is Brian Jensen. I own a full-service digital marketing agency called Congruent Digital. We provide clients with search engine optimization, pay-per-click, social media marketing, and content marketing services. I've been a digital marketer for probably about 15 years. Been doing social media, for businesses, for probably a decade. And I think what's always really been of interest to me from like a marketing perspective, whether it's PPC, SEO, content or social, it's just the psychology behind what drives purchasing decisions and interest. And I think that's what, really has kept me active and engaged and just really passionate, about marketing and helping clients achieve results online.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, you and I worked together on some projects too, and that's why I liked what you've done. And it's cool how we met too. We were using social media and how we connected. So I was following your posts for, 2 years or something. And then you and I got together in San Diego and got to meet in person. That's the only downside. I mean, the cool part about social media is you can do all this stuff online, but it's nice to meet in person too when you can. Yeah,
it is. And big thanks to Google Plus for that. It's amazing, just like you were mentioning earlier, the connections you can establish and the relationships you can build just by being active and engaged on social media.
Right. Well, cool. So I'm going to jump right into the first question I've got is more related to the local search. And that's the NAP that everyone talks about. What does it stand for, and why is it so important? And then also, we'll start there, and then we can work into how can a local business, small business, help their NAP improve. So.
Perfect. Yeah. So NAP stands for name, address, and phone number, and I would say. Probably in NAP consistency, first and foremost, I think it's important to look at it from a potential customer perspective. So I'll work with a lot of clients who have, moved from location to location, changed phone numbers. And as I'm doing these audits, I'm seeing, we've got the wrong address here, or this is an outdated phone number. So from a potential customer perspective, you want to make sure that all your information is updated and consistent so people can actually get a hold of you. From a search engine perspective, NAP is also important. Google has, there's some major data aggregators that Google looks closely at to help it understand, is the information consistent across the web? And, if it is, I think that helps Google have a high level of confidence and trust that, hey, this data is consistent, it's accurate, we have a high confidence level that this information is correct. So it's actually part of the local ranking algorithms. So important, to have your information updated, correct across the most prominent business listings and, with the most prominent local data aggregators.
Mm-hmm. Got it. And then also, so let's talk about Moz and Yext and how they come in. Are there other tools that people can use, and how do they check their NAP to make sure it's up to date?
Yeah, great question. So I would say from an audit perspective, Moz and Yext are great. If you're not quite ready to commit to paying for the tool, you can always enter in your business information and get a good idea of duplicates, incorrect listings, and if you have access to those profiles, a lot of times you can just look and see what needs to be fixed, and if you have the time, you can do it yourself. But I think the issue that a lot of business owners run into is they just don't have the time. It's a lot of business listings, a lot of profiles that need to be updated and looked at, which is why paying for these services and paying for these tools a lot of times makes sense.
Yeah. Can they do it? I mean, is it can you do it yourself? Like, can you create a spreadsheet of all the different directories out there and just have someone in the office manually go in and create the accounts and updating it that way? Is there any effectiveness to that, or is it pretty hard to is it too time consuming?
I think anyone who's done it manually a couple times will probably agree with me that it's maybe not as effective. It can get a little frustrating. I think one of the benefits to using Yext and Moz is, especially with Moz, there's a certain level of verification. So when they push this data out to the major data aggregators, it's good to go. They look at it, they review it, and they publish it. So there's not that waiting period. So I think with Moz and Yext, you enter your information, they do the legwork for you.
Yep, got it. And then because I've seen clients that have 2 or 3 Yelp accounts because they had and reviews in different spots. They had different addresses. It's a royal pain when you want to move your business because of the and a lot of guys are thinking this has happened too. You and I've seen this with different phone numbers. Sometimes they put different phone numbers in different directories to track those calls for leads.
Right.
But doing that practice, I'm guessing that doesn't really help SEO then to have multiple phone numbers.
Yeah, that will throw off your NAP. It's important to really strive for consistency. And it's a balance too, because you also want to track your marketing efforts. But I would say certainly for most prominent business listings and major local data aggregators, most local SEO experts will agree that it's sticking with one phone number is important.
Yeah, good. It's not on the list, but since just if you can give us a quick update of what you're seeing with Google local search, what they're doing, maybe just some of the tests they're up to these days.
Yeah, great question. So with Google, all things Google, especially local search, is all too well, really the only constant is change. Especially with local search and the local pack, we've seen some major changes. Starting in August, I think it kind of took everyone aback when they shrunk the local pack from 7 results down to 3 and changed up the way they displayed it, so it was more consistent with the look and feel provided to mobile visitors. Mm-hmm. So it kind of shook things up. First and foremost, if you weren't in the top 3, all of a sudden you lost that visibility for a lot of geo-targeted queries that were related to your services. Mm-hmm. They also pulled the Google Plus page. I think while they still support Google Plus, they're definitely changing their focus. I don't think they're really, Google's not pushing to make it a destination as strong as it was a few years ago. It's important to have your Google My Business page, set up, verified. But, I think it's also, important to remember that Google is kind of distancing themselves.
Yeah. What do they do with the reviews? I mean, I still see the reviews when people type in a search. I mean, they pushed it over to the right-hand side. You think that's going to come back in to play? Is it still important to get those? I mean, we've been pushing reviews for clients, as you know, but because they've just in the last couple of weeks, even they've pushed it out of the way. It's not as prominent.
Yeah, I think it is, and for a few reasons. The first, of course, is the social proof. They found time and time again in research studies that reviews definitely influence consumer purchasing decisions. And so I think if you're looking at your business compared with the competitors, and they've done a great job, they have a lot of great reviews, that can certainly influence who a potential customer decides to actually hire. So there's that. But I think also, from a ranking perspective, I still think it's important. I wouldn't focus exclusively on Google Plus, but as we've discussed, I think it's important to provide your customers with a few different options for the most prominent networks in search. So you want to look at Yelp, House, Google Plus, and provide your customers with options so you can increase the likelihood that you'll actually get a review.
Yeah, good point. A few guys joined us while we were in this discussion. So we've got Bart who joined us, and Lee. We also have Mark on here as well. So just letting you guys know who are listening, if you want to pop in, I know people come in and out, and this is recorded. So if you want to listen to it later, that's fine. A lot of my clients are on the West Coast, so they're busy this morning. So they'll probably look at this in the afternoon. That's when the more attractions are. But if you guys have any questions at all related to local search, while we've got Brian here with us, go ahead and leave it in the questions or the tab here on your right-hand side of the screen, or if you're on a mobile device, you can leave it there and we'll pick it up and answer that for you. So we've just been talking about Google local search and also NAP, the NAP being the name, address, and phone number, the importance of having that consistent through your directory listings. And so the search engines kind of pick it up as because a lot of times what will happen is people will leave, or they'll move their business and then they will not update. They'll probably just update a couple directories and then they might move again. And now they have several different listings. They're not consistent there. So that's local search. I want to keep this simple and short, talking more about local search, and then move into some social media things, some tips there. First, talking about blogging. I know that blogging has been out for a long time. You know how long? I mean, when did they first start calling it blogs? Has it been?
Oh man, ever since I've been involved in digital marketing.
Yeah. I can't remember when I wrote my first blog. It must have been like I know it was before Facebook, around 2002 maybe. I don't know, but when we first got in SEO at all, it was my dad's company. We had hired a SEO guy back in probably around 2000, and he charged $100 a month. And I think it wasn't rocket science back then. Okay, there we go. Lee said about 1999, 2000 blogs were coined before weblog. Yeah, I remember that. I remember it being called weblog. So cool. Thanks for that. But yeah, our first SEO guy at all when we had our local painting company was a guy who said, I can get you to the top of search engines. And at that time, it was more of the black hat techniques worked just fine for a while, in the late 90s too. And then we paid this guy, and we quickly were number one everywhere. And then he came back with $1,000 a month, just like that. So, I mean, he got us to a certain point, and then I think what was happening is he realized his service was taking off, being a local SEO guy. So that was the beginning of me trying to figure this out too, and getting into the digital marketing world as well. So blogging, let's talk about that for a minute too. Importance of it, how often to blog, and why is that? And then some tips on that.
Cool. Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons, to be active and frequently publishing content. Thought leadership, I think is one. The second is, really identifying the needs, pain points, and questions of your target audience that might not be necessarily being addressed on your key landing pages. Increasing your following. earning links for great content, that resonates with people. So a lot of reasons, I think, to be active and frequently always looking at what do we have, what questions people are asking, and what can we publish that's really going to provide value to our target audience.
Mm-hmm. Got it. A lot of the clients I work with, they're blogging 2 times a month. And the only reason they're doing it 2 times a month is because it's hard to get them to do it at all. And the more aggressive ones are doing 4 and some are doing 6. So do you have, there's not really a magical number, is there? I mean, some guys do it every day. Some of the large firms do it every day, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I would say as much as possible, always try and let the data drive the decisions. So, before you start any content marketing strategy, jump into analytics, pull it back 2 years, go into your top landing pages, download that data, use tools, like SEO for Excel or Majestic, and just look at what posts have we published, what's received a lot of traffic, whether from organic, or from referral visits, what's been engaged with socially, and what content have we published has earned us links. Because at the end of the day, it takes time. You've got to pay someone either internally or outsource to create this content, upload it to your CMS, publish and promote it. So first and foremost, look at what's performed. Next, do the exact same thing for your competitors. Look at what they've published, which has performed. From there, jump into Google Trends or a free tool like BuzzSumo and look at what's trending. From there, right back to your internal team. What are the frequently asked questions that we get asked? So combine all that and start looking at your content strategy. Does all that information justify 2 to 4 posts a month? Possibly. But, I see a lot of blogs and content strategies fail because a lot of times brands will publish content just because it's accepted that publishing to a blog is a good thing to do. But when you go back and you look at the data and you look at, wow, this, isn't really helping us, increase visits, leads or sales, I think you have to really look hard at what you're doing and, really focus on a performance-driven content marketing strategy.
Got it. Yep. Good. I've seen that to be true, but there now a lot of people are getting into the video streaming, but also the importance of YouTube videos, things like that. They would help increase social traffic as well. So it's hard to get small business folks to stand in front of a video and do it. Do you have have you had any success getting people to do that? And do you see the benefit there?
Well, for Hangouts, for sure, and I think as we were just talking about, your experience so far with Blab, I think is a perfect example of, being part of the conversation or even leading the conversation. Mm-hmm. Getting on there, engaging with either your peers or your community, and really working to build or solidify relationships. Those are important, because as we both know, those can both lead to new leads and sales.
Yeah, cool. All right, so let's move into. Guys have questions about blogging later. We can get into that. But on social media, tell us more about the best the social media platforms that you're on, that you recommend, and why. So me personally, David, you know this, but I'm pretty partial to Google+. Yeah. But that's, I think, primarily just because I enjoy the depth of the conversation. I could post something and there would be, sometimes 15 comments, or joining someone else's post where there's 40 comments. Just the level and depth of engagement there was intense. Sometimes you post something to Twitter and you get a favorite. But you can post the same conversation to Google+, and there's a lot of conversation. So for me personally, that's what I enjoy. But for businesses, I think you really have to look at it holistically and look at, kind of, again, do the analysis. Are they active on social? And if so, what's actually resulting in qualified traffic? What's sending referral visits? What's leading to leads? So
it really depends. We work with clients where most of their qualified traffic or leads comes from house. I work with other clients where Pinterest works exceptionally well, and for other clients, Facebook. So I think it's important to have some type of presence on most social networks. But again, I think it comes back to really letting the data drive the decisions on where you want to be spending most of your time.
Pinterest, you've mentioned that quite a bit over the last year. You and I've connected with. What's the SEO value there that you're seeing on Pinterest? Is it just name recognition?
Yeah, so from an SEO perspective, pins and boards do get crawled and indexed by Google search. You can do a quick site : search operator, with your Pinterest profile, and just quickly see like, oh, okay, I have 20 pins indexed. So there's the opportunity for visibility. From SEO, I think there's also, you get a link back to your website, which is great. If you really work to make your Pinterest account a destination, there's the potential that account could build up authority, and that becomes a great link pointing back to your homepage. But most of the benefit I see is actually just getting in front of the Pinterest audience. Again, it comes back to, who are your customers? Are they on Pinterest? But as you mentioned, the web's becoming much more visual. So we have, images, videos. It's becoming a visual web. And I think Pinterest has definitely evolved over the years, not only as a platform, but also the demographic. So it's no longer just for, moms and mommy bloggers. There's all industries, verticals, and, demographics are being represented more and more on Pinterest. So I think it's definitely a social network, worth exploring.
Yeah, it's not my favorite yet. My wife likes it. It's so busy for me. It's not a platform I like to hang out on. One thing I get asked quite a bit too, and you probably as well, is this is, if you hire it out. So if there's people like you and I and our companies helping people getting these done, you can do more platforms. You can do more social. You can because if you have a small business, say, in my field, the contracting field. You have a small office of 3 to 5 people in the office. They all have had different jobs, and then they're told by their boss, "Hey, someone fresh out of college or something too. They just join them. Hey, you're social. You know how to use Facebook. You know how to use those tools. I'd like you to just manage it all. Just get out there, do Facebook, do Twitter, do whatever David Chisholm tells you to do too. I've had that happen too. Like, just get on all those platforms, sign up for accounts, and start posting. Probably not the best way to do it, but so, I mean, how does a small business look at social, look at SEO, and yes, they can. There's some things they could do themselves. What's the benefit of hiring it out if they have the money for that, or an investment in that? But also, if they were to do anything themselves, how do they start? Do they get overwhelmed? Should they get on all these platforms and have an account, or should they just start with a couple of them? I know it does depend on where their audience is hanging out, but there might be a few that you kind of know where I'm going with that.
Yeah, for sure. So my recommendation is always to establish, and verify profiles across, most major social networks. So Google+, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Yelp, and LinkedIn, of course, and I think there's benefits to that as well. So a lot of these social profiles also can work to help you with NAP. So there's a lot of opportunities there to add your name, address, phone number, a link back to your website. So even if it's a social profile that you're like, well, we're just going to post once or twice a week, I still think there's some benefit there. To building up and establishing those profiles from an SEO perspective, and even more so, things like Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. You really want to own your first page results. If someone types in your brand name, you don't want rip-off report, you don't want Glassdoor showing up. You want to either own or control every single result that appears for a branded search. And so, having these social profiles and accounts set up and somewhat active, these will typically appear on the first page for branded searches. So from an SEO perspective, I think that's something worth taking into consideration as well. As far as managing it, it can be a lot and it can be overwhelming. So I think, yeah, coming back to where's our target audience, and also, just best practices. Don't share just to share. If you're a local business, start with your local community. Who's local that you can follow, that you can support? Who are your partners and affiliates? Who are your customers? A lot of times I'll log into Twitter accounts that clients have just set up, and there's 50 notifications, and I'll think, wow, these guys have gotten mentioned. They've had customers thank them online, and they're just creating their own ghost town, essentially. There's a lot of missed opportunities to really build and solidify relationships.
Yeah, that's a good point. ROI, have you been asked that from social media and SEO too? 2 points to this, though, or 2 questions really. One is, what's the importance of this for a construction company, small business, local, to get involved in SEO? What are the benefits that you see? Especially if they know that a lot of people aren't calling from the web yet, or they're not saying, well, I got you on Yelp, or I got you on Instagram, Pinterest, I saw your thing and I called you. I mean, is there a benefit to doing these things, knowing that maybe you're not going to get a lot of direct traffic from some of these sources from a branding standpoint, or just, if they're already doing old school type marketing with mailers or flyers or whatever their community events? What's the benefit of like a social media? How is it to quantify? How do you quantify an ROI?
That's a great question. So I would say I'll get into the analytics portion of it in just a second, but I would say probably where you want to keep your focus. Instead of getting caught up in just tweeting, I would say, put ROI aside for a minute, put referral traffic aside for a minute, and just keep your focus on relationships. What are you doing? Who do you support? Where are you working? What businesses, local businesses do you endorse? Connect with them, engage with them. See what they're sharing. Focus on your local community, because that's where, the reality is that's where your leads and new business is going to come from. Once you've done that, once you've, connected, you're saying, hey, I'm getting followers back. This is great. Then you want to start looking at, broader perspective, how can we really make our social channels work for us? So maybe let's go back to blogging. I think posting and publishing content without a really good promotion strategy, a lot of times these strategies will fall flat. So, if we're engaging, if we're building up an audience, the next benefit is to use our social channels to really help amplify that content. We want to get social shares. We're investing a lot of time into this content, and we want to get the word out. We want people to share it. We want it to resonate with, the people that it's intended for. So build relationships, great for social amplification. The analytics portion of it, first thing we can look at is referral traffic, right? Are people coming to our social profiles? Are we working to make them destinations? And if so, how many people are actually clicking back to our website, and what do the user engagement metrics look like? Are people from Facebook spending 20 seconds, whereas people from Pinterest are spending 5 minutes? We want to look at that, but also more importantly, we want to look at, are people completing desired user interactions? So, I think with most local contractors, there's usually 2. First is a phone call, which is a little bit more difficult to track. And the second would be a request for proposal or a free estimate, which is pretty straightforward to track in Google Analytics. So if we have that tracking in place, we can access a report in Google Analytics called multi-channel funnels. And what this allows us to see is, a lot of times we know that the purchase path is becoming extremely complex. And when I say that, I may be exposed to Chisholm Brothers via something that you tweeted out, and I thought, oh, that's cool. I live in San Diego. I'm looking for painting services, but it's a couple months out. I'm not quite ready to make that purchase for another 30 days. So I've been exposed to you guys through social media. I come back 15 days later, maybe because I need more information through search. I type in Chisholm Brothers and I find you guys. I click through the website and I request a free estimate. And I end up becoming a customer. So what Google Analytics allows us to see is that purchase path. So I initially found you via social, but then I came back through SEO and I completed a desired user interaction. So that report is especially beneficial just to help us understand the assisted conversion value of social media. So even if someone, I can look at my regular reports and think, yeah, I'm getting traffic, but is it really leading to business and sales? Maybe not. But, looking at those specific reports, you can look at, okay, social is playing a touch point. And, these channels, even though they're not directly leading to a desired user interaction, they're still playing a prominent role and acting as an assisted conversion.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, from what I've seen on my end, I've got a lot of clients that I tell them to take photos of their work, put them up on their social channels they're comfortable using. So some of them are using Instagram, some are doing Facebook, some are doing Google Plus, or all three of them. From what I found, it looks like just that alone, snapping. You see how Houzz and Pinterest have become popular the last few years. Houzz is growing rapidly for people that are looking to get their home remodeled, and they're starting there. And that's a social platform. I mean, you can like it, you can share, you can do all that, you can engage. So that's social. So by these contractors posting their best work there on Houzz, people get ideas and they see who did the work, but they're not ready to, because remodeling a home could take sometimes 6 months before you're ready to get started, because there's all the planning and the plans and the permits and all that. But from a Facebook and Google and Instagram, it might be just pictures of your people doing work. So because if you're going to have these folks in the home, you want them to what do they look like? And so I've seen a real uptick in just engagement when there's cool or fun looking pictures, maybe even the things they're doing in the community. If they're doing any community events, they post them on their social platforms, and they're getting likes and shares. So even if there's not a direct ROI where someone's saying, well, yeah, I get it's $100 a lead when that phone rings, more and more people are aware of the company just from the postings they're doing, as long as they're not obnoxious and posting every second of the day kind of thing, but have a plan of how often and engagement. I think a lot of them have seen an uptick in just brand awareness. It's very inexpensive in that sense to put your name out there if done correctly, I think.
Yeah, you make a really good point, David, and I think maybe just to expand on that, something that I'm trying to work with, our clients and my clients on is to always keep content top of mind. And content is everything like you were saying, from images to videos to blog posts to this blab broadcast. So contractors, if you're out there, keep a camera in your truck or car. If there's something cool happening, if you're at a job site, project looks beautiful, customer gives you permission, take a photo, show off your great work. I think if you always keep content top of mind, or taking pictures or taking good notes, you'll have an arsenal of fantastic stuff to share and repurpose across platforms, like you were just saying, David.
Yeah. There's also I talk about him a lot, Marcus Sheridan, who got his start in social 2009, I think, when he started blogging. He's in Northern Virginia. He had a pool company, and everything I've seen from them has never been, a Hollywood production. They've done lots of blogging and lots of videos too. And sometimes, you're told the videos need to be short and simple, 1 or 2 minute tips kind of thing. But sometimes their videos are 10 minutes or more, and they're educational videos about the type of pools they install, and they're putting out the pricing as well. So a lot of folks on social hide their pricing, think, well, I don't want my competitors to see that. But what Marcus Sheridan and his team did, it's not just him. They've all really just been out there exposing themselves to people that are searching. Getting a pool is a larger expense, so it's not a simple sale. So it's going to take some time. So people are out there searching, and they nothing's flashy. It's just more of like, hey, you came to our site. Let's talk about what you need. So it's always about the consumer, mixing it with the again, the video, the blogging, some social media. And then from that, he's really had to stop all other types of marketing. He doesn't have to do anything except keep up on the social type platform. So I have seen businesses that do nothing but social, You don't have to have any print ads. You don't have to do lots of community events because everything they do is online. On the other hand, this is a complaint I get. Be curious to hear what you say. What you have to say about this, but the folks searching. I mean, I would think most of us are using the internet for search, but from the small business guys I've talked to, contractors, some of them are thinking, well, I get leads off the internet, but they're not the greatest. They're tire kickers. If they do paid search with Google AdWords and they do local search, maybe all the efforts they've done, they've increased leads, but they're getting lots and lots of tire kickers. I don't know if that's really changed in general. I mean, what are your thoughts on how to increase or improve on the quality of the leads? And
yeah, that's a great question. So I'm glad you mentioned both PPC and SEO. So essentially what we're looking for is when people do use search, they're you've got like navigational, informational, branded type queries, but people are looking for information. Mm-hmm. And so, I think what we can do is, SEO, of course, you can use your analytics to look at, my landing pages. People are finding me, but what's the traffic like? Is it qualified traffic? Are they not engaged? Are they hitting my website and being like, this doesn't look professional, or I'm not getting the information I need? So again, I think it's good to kind of let the data drive the decisions. Using Google Search Console, you can actually look at your pages and look at what are the keywords that people actually, found my top pages for. If we have a service page for residential painting, what are the different queries people are using? So you can take that and also, from there, take that information and then use PPC to look at, what's driving qualified leads. What are those keywords that are actually leading to calls that are converting to customers? You take that data and you can actually use that to inform the SEOs. So, my pages are optimized for these keywords and I'm getting impressions and clicks for these keywords. But actually, in looking at the PPC data, it's these keywords that are leading to the highest conversions. So I think it's, mentioning both those channels, I'm glad you did, because you can use, one to really inform the strategy of the other.
Mm-hmm. Got it, yeah. So it seems like, again, if anyone has any questions, they can use the side panel there to ask those questions. We've got a few minutes left, and we got a few guys joining us. Hey, Tom, thanks for popping in here. Tom and I are doing a show later today. He's a strongpreneur, so he just joined in here too.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that it's for me personally, I like to use some community events, some things you do in the community as well as the online, kind of put them together, still market to existing clients there. So it's not just social. And I think that'll help get better leads too, from my perspective. If you just rely on like a paid search campaign, people that don't know who you are, and they're just going to land on a landing page and fill out a form, probably going to get some tire kickers. Unless you have enough information on that page to convince them that you're the best or better pricing or something. So,
yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I just to expand on that, David. I think it's community events are important for a few different reasons. I was watching one of our clients had a client testimonial video, and in that she said, I love supporting these guys because they do so much for the community. Mm-hmm. And so, as you mentioned, I think you're out there, you're getting the awareness, you're integrating with your local community. But I think as a business, being involved and giving back really helps strengthen your unique value proposition. If you're someone that's known for giving back and being involved, I would say most people are more likely to at least approach you for a quote as opposed to like a no-name maybe who they're not familiar with. So, I would say from that perspective, strengthening your unique value proposition and integrating with the local community, I think can really help to increase the number of leads you're getting.
Got it. Yeah. Mamon, thanks for popping in here, and Lincoln and Reggae, thank you. John, the last question is management tools. So there's Buffer, there's Hootsuite. I mean, what's your favorite, or which ones do you use?
So at Congruent Digital, we use Hootsuite. we'll set up grids, we'll schedule postings. But I think every social tool has pros and cons and limitations. So for instance, Google Plus, there's specific formatting that you can use. You can bold your title, you can include bullet points, and you can really work to make an engaging, well-written micro post. And unfortunately, you can't do that in Hootsuite. Also there's some social networks that are not supported. So I think they definitely have their uses. But I think even if you pay for a social media management tool, there's always going to be, a manual aspect, because, a lot of times you post the same message to Facebook and Twitter, and you're just not doing it justice. Twitter, you're limited to 140 characters, but Facebook, you've got more room. You can expand, you can provide your viewers with more information. So they're great. They're great for scheduling posts, great for tracking. But I would say, even if you're paying for a tool, there's probably always going to be an element of, a manual element to managing your accounts.
Yeah. I like, the Hootsuite and Buffer from the standpoint of not having to log into all the different, platforms. I know there's tools that help log in faster, but it's nice to be able to click a button and be able to type in that message there and then schedule it. Because I got Adam on there not too long ago, not on Hootsuite, but we're using Buffer for some of our postings, and it's more so we can type up on one platform and then decide which ones it needs to go on. And if it's on LinkedIn or Facebook, it gives you the expansion to type in more than the 140 characters. So,
Cool.
Makes that really nice. So it saved him, I know, and myself time. And what I like about Buffer, have you used Buffer at all?
I had a free account personally. When we started handling social media for a lot of different clients, we did Hootsuite. So it's great to hear your feedback on.
Yeah, Buffer. I tried Hootsuite too, and I'm not sure why I didn't continue it. Maybe I saw a lot of people using Buffer, and I tried both of them. Hootsuite, I think, does a little bit more. Then it's a little bit more powerful. But from the Buffer standpoint, it's nice because sometimes I'm reading an article that I like and I want to share it, but I don't necessarily want to share it right then and there. So I can just buffer it. So I just click a button and then it goes into my Twitter feed, and then either you can tell when you want it to post, or it can do it automatically for you. It takes a couple seconds to say, oh, that's a great article, I want to share it. I hit the buffer thing and it goes out of my mind and then moves on to the next thing. So sometimes I want to just share interesting content. You can even highlight words and phrases and that you think are really cool, and it'll give credit to where it came from and the article. So you can just say, here's a really cool quote that I found. It'll credit that person, the site, and then buffer it for you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's nice to kind of keep content coming in. I know that there's a few folks out there I met at the social media conference that, you'll see some people post on Twitter every few minutes. There's strategy behind that. Trying to remember the guy's name. It's like every couple seconds they've got something popping in there on Twitter, and I think it works for them because there's enough people seeing their name and they click on stuff. But for me, I just like this. I'll buffer it and it'll go out to my channels. But then on Facebook, it gives me an opportunity to type up something else a little more personal and go from there. So,
cool.
Yeah. Well, so that's all the questions I have. If you've got any more. I want to open up if anyone else has any questions. We've gotten some more people coming in here now. Thanks for joining us. We got Hillary that just came in. Mr. Wonderful is the name of their screen. Corey, hello. And so E-Boy, there we go. So if you guys have any questions at all, please go ahead and post them. We'll stay on here for a few more minutes. And there we go. Got some props for you there.
Oh, great.
Again, Buffer, or I keep saying Buffer. Blab, for those joining us, some of you guys are probably new to this. If you want to just tell us in here if this is your first Blab, or if you've been here for how many days, it'd be kind of cool that those that are in here. Tips for artists. There you go. There's a question for you. And also, Jonathan wants to join in here. We'll get him in here and see what he's got to say here. So let's pop into Jonathan. And then also, if you want to give some tips for an artist, what they can do from probably some local things, do it themselves. So.
Yeah, love to. So as far as an artist, that could be a painter, a musician. So I would say first and foremost, build a website. John might agree with me on this, but you want to have a kind of that destination where people can learn more about you, where to hire you, more about your products and services. And from there, social media. We've been talking a lot about local social strategy. If you're an artist and musician, you've got a service area. Sometimes, I guess, musicians can travel, but, really focusing on building relationships and engaging, with your local community. And then a content strategy, taking the questions that you frequently get from customers, publishing that, sharing that out, I think would all be really good ideas for local artists, and possibly even being established on Yelp, asking for reviews.
Mm-hmm. Flower art is what you said. Curious what that flower art, are you talking like floralist? Hey, Jonathan, thanks for coming in here.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hi there. I just had a question. How important do you feel for local regional business review sites like Yelp, Google Local, Yellow Pages, Merchant Circle, those type of review sites? How important are they for a local business or regional to get reviews and make sure that everything they've got all the correct information? Because it is time consuming, and as soon as you approach these people, you get bombarded by calls from them. So is it worth all the effort of making sure these directory sites have the right data?
That's a great question. What I would say is let's always try and let the data drive the decisions. So, what keywords are relevant to your specific product, service, or solution? Type that into Google. What comes up? A lot of times for the clients I work with, it's always Yelp. And as much as they may hate Yelp, sometimes you gotta play. It's important to have reviews on there, because for Yelp, reviews equals visibility.
Can I ask something about Yelp? Because I found it extremely, unless somebody's got a really long track record reviewing on Yelp, that you can get a few people give you really good reviews for a client, and they're organic, they're not, they're natural, they want to, but they just don't appear. Yelp just won't publish them. Is that quite a common problem?
David, do you have any experience with that?
Yeah, so Yelp has an algorithm that they're pretty careful. They don't want you to solicit reviews. So if you have in your email, I've seen this happen. If you have an email, a lot of then the signature, someone's, hey, review us on Google and Yelp, and they'll have little icons on there. And that's not the best practice, especially for Yelp, because Yelp somehow looks at where that came from. That they clicked on a link that went directly to your profile, and if you fill out a review on Yelp, it most likely will get filtered. So they want it to be as natural and organic as possible, and that's a lot of people don't like that. At least the business owners don't like that, because it's hard to get people to write reviews on Yelp unless you're an avid Yelp user. And there's not, from what I found, the people that use Yelp, I don't mind it. I use it now and then, but it's a lot of younger folks. I'd say probably in the 20 to 30 year olds, and they're using it more for restaurants. I think it's big on restaurants, especially as you're walking around like the big cities like New York and Chicago, San Diego. Hey, I'm here, and where do I eat? But it's hard to get someone to go into Yelp and type in the service's name organically and do it all themselves. So if the ones that stay, sometimes what I've also seen, Yelp will they'll filter it for a time, and then they'll pop it back up. I mean, I've had a few filtered for probably 6 or 8 months, and then they'll come back in. So sometimes they'll give it some time to see, is this person going to be an active Yelp user? Are they writing reviews for other companies besides just yours? Do they pop into the app at all? then they'll give it some time and pull them back in. So Yelp there's not much you can do there. I've seen some guys that just start their business advertising on Yelp, and then they'll probably plead with their clients to write a review on Yelp organically. Just, can you do that? Don't click on anything. Just go there and do it. And it'll thank you for the props there. So just for those joining, the props or the hands there, you can tap on those things to give us some props. It just I don't know what it does, but it makes us feel good. So, so does that answer your question about Yelp?
Yeah, it does, because I think what you're saying really is that if you got some clients, you really got to say, we better concentrate on some of the other review sites, and then we need a more kind of handhold, personal kind of mini campaign for Yelp. You know, we got to select the people, find out if they really use Yelp, and then we got to ask them to personally go to Yelp and put from their browser, and we've got to ring them up, ask them if they're prepared to do that. I think that's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there actually are companies out there. Brian, with Albright, they had an ad agency actually figure out a way around it. It was expensive. Oh. I mean, they actually will go through your customer list and match up the emails with the Yelp accounts to see if they have an account, and then they're able to. But even that, I mean, I only saw a really small increase in reviews. It's so much less expensive just to ask a client at the end of a job if they're happy and they know it, and go on to Google or Houzz or some of these other sites out there. So I don't give Yelp a whole lot of. Yelp is great from a social from it showing up high, but it's not something I spend a whole lot of time worrying about anymore.
Yeah, and just to maybe expand on those comments from David, not everyone's a Yelper, so I always tell my clients, give people options. Not everyone has a Gmail, and so I would say, look at the top review networks or top places that people can leave reviews, and give your customers those options. And also, in addition to asking them after, maybe ask them before, hey, if we would you mind providing us with some feedback when the job's complete? Get their permission, get them to agree. Once the job is completed, follow up again. Always keep it top of mind. You don't want to be pushy or intrusive or harass anyone, but I think politely asking beforehand and then a follow-up afterwards, is a great way to increase the number of reviews you can get.
All right, thanks, guys. Great content. Thanks for the advice.
Hey, you're welcome. Thanks for joining us. And
thanks, John.
All right, we still got. I'm going to pull in someone else here. This is E-Boy. Come on in.
Hello.
Got some questions. You got some questions about Yelp and how to get on there too, I think.
Yeah, I have a small business, very small business, and how would you even get listed on Yelp? Local is what I really am interested in right now. So how would you even get listed with a small business or website, or is that even possible? Do you have to have a brick and mortar to start?
Yeah, I think you do need an address, a physical address. David, please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think you do need, an address, a place of business. There is like a verification process involved with Yelp. So yeah, I mean, I guess if you're working out of your home or you have a home office, that would work. I know it's different for. Google, I know they like to actually see you have a physical place of business that maybe is outside of your home. But that's a really good question. David, do you have any insight on that?
No, I wouldn't usually recommend it for your home, but I mean, if you want to have your home there, you can. But normally you can submit things to Yelp, but normally they just do a scan of local business. There's really not something you have to do. It's just it scans the area for who has a brick and mortar and gives them an account, and then you can verify it. So you go into Yelp and say, yeah, this is my business. Verify it that way. But I wouldn't say, for your business, I wouldn't really worry too much about Yelp for what you're trying to get into. I think there's enough other platforms out there. Like I mentioned, Pinterest. Brian talked earlier about Pinterest and the benefit of that from a SEO standpoint. Because just the one you posted there, your flower artwork above, I mean, that's something that probably, I would think, Brian, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be best on a Pinterest type platform, probably Instagram as well.
Yeah, I try to approach like a lot of floral businesses, like, hey, maybe I can make cards for your clients and maybe invitations and, with with that type of stuff. But I always, you hear a lot about Yelp and like, oh, maybe it's a great area, a great platform for local, and maybe people could see my business. But if it has to be a brick and mortar, maybe that's not the right approach. Maybe Pinterest is best.
So are these pictures that you send out nationally and possibly worldwide?
Yeah, I try to get clients. Now you try to get clients everywhere.
Do you have a website?
Yeah, I can put it in. I've done art for CB2 and actually the MoMA. For like, I do a lot of architecture and flowers and like retro things, like planes from classic planes, or jewelry. I do a lot of jewelry. So I was trying to try to contact local jewelry businesses and, try to do a rebrand for them for invitations and events and stuff like that. It's a lot of like, you make the art and this is what you can do. Kind of have to show them first, and hopefully they'll jump on board. But it's a lot of work first.
Yeah, I think Pinterest would be a great option just because it's such a visual social network, but also Instagram. There's huge potential to reach new audiences just using the right hashtags.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry I jumped in late, but I mean, people were always praising Instagram, but I don't know, maybe I'm doing it the wrong way because I'm not really getting a lot of engagement as opposed to a lot of people I see that get tons of clients and tons of business, but I basically just post my finished products and kind of like, hey, what do you think? Type of thing. And I guess I put hashtags, but arts and jewelry or flowers, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to resonate with a big audience as much as I would like to. If you had any tips, maybe. I'm sorry, I came in late, so I didn't hear what you said before.
Do you have any competitors? Is there anyone that's doing something similar to you?
Well, I have my own unique style. I try to approach businesses where I could create something unique. And like I said, floral businesses, they sell flowers. And if you look at their businesses, they do a lot of similar type of advertising, flowers on a white background. And, if you looked at and jewelry businesses, exactly, if you took the name away from jewelry businesses, they'd all the websites would look exactly the same. So I try to present something that's a unique style so they could, kind of stand out of the crowd. I mean, that's my hope what I'm getting. So I just try to approach businesses with my own stuff, and hopefully they'll perhaps think of it.
Tom had a good point on the chat here over the right. He talked about doing some video using Periscope. Trying to find out. He missed who your ideal client was. Who are the folks that purchase your product?
Well, my primary business is I do commissions for people for I do like animals. People like illustrations of their small pets, and I do architecture and the flowers. So it's more commissions for people's homes. I'm trying to get, like I said, I want to approach businesses where I think that for advertise for their businesses. So primarily it's commissions, but I'd like to get into more business art.
Question or observation. E-Man Webb said that, how long you've been doing it, because it does take time on social media to get results.
Yeah.
And just a key point, I mean, Brian and I was impressed with when I first met Brian, he had over 5 million views on his Google Plus page. That didn't happen overnight.
That's nice.
And Brian is very disciplined at posting. I mean, you're telling me you're getting up pretty early in the morning and you have a set schedule, set time where you're doing your social posting. So it's not kind of pop in, pop out. It's
I mean, I try to do like maybe here's like the Thursday flower or the flower of the week, or any type of like here's the Wednesday jewelry piece, or every week I try to do that, or maybe like an hourly thing. But then, am I annoying people? I mean, every single day I'm doing something. I don't want to be that annoying guy too. But I don't know. It's like, I guess it's you got to gauge your audience if they say, "Hey, stop sending these pictures," but no one said that yet. So
I think E-Man, Webb made a great point that social media marketing, and David, you mentioned this, is a marathon, not a sprint. Something I've seen on YouTube, actually someone I follow uses spray paint to create murals. And, he sells these paintings, but he essentially creates videos of him just creating his art. Right. And over time, I mean, he's built up a pretty impressive following. And so, I don't know if maybe there's a behind the scenes of, you creating this stuff and utilizing like YouTube or other platforms like that just to kind of get the word out.
I'm actually doing it on Blab now. So I have a project, and then I kind of like, I use Cam Twist, and I share the desktop. So I kind of like, here's the process, I make it, and, there's the video up there. So I show people, and I also get the project done. So those two birds. Well, thanks for the tip. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks
for coming in. Hey, Mel.
Hi, Mel.
Yes. Hi, Brian. Hi, David. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Good. Thanks for letting me join. I really appreciate that. I just wanted to give some tips about, the Pinterest and the flower, business in a way. One way he can use Pinterest would be to actually offer advice on how to select the best for, let's say, weddings or
looks like you have
something. So make sure to optimize your images for SEO, and when you're using Pinterest, it's a huge opportunity, and not a lot of people remember to optimize their images. And flowers, you can actually optimize for specific keyword, and you can add a text on on the image. Make sure to add the website of your client and like a call to action, but don't make it obviously like too salesy. So find a nice way to remind people to come back and visit the website and learn more on how to make your own flower arrangements, or how to pick the best flower for specific occasions and things like that.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. And, I think what I forgot to ask about the website is kind of what you were hinting at, Amel, is does he have landing pages that, discuss and are optimized for all of the services that he offers? So, he said that he creates paintings, but he also does jewelry. So, doing research and using that research, to inform the optimization of his landing pages, I think is also important, just so he's providing a great experience for potential customers looking for the different products that he offers.
Yeah, I think again it takes time to do it. You just got to start somewhere. The videos is a great idea. Whatever it is, I would just stick to it though. So just pick a couple things that he's good at doing. So you can even put a video of him doing the artwork. So you can do drawing a blank where you can speed it up. The kind of showcase start to finish. You know what I'm talking about? Can't think of the name of it, but anyways,
the before and after.
Yeah, there we go. The iPhones do that. So doing those kind of things. I mean, even from the local standpoint, there's also local places you could set up and engage with people. The main thing is they got to get to like you, like your product, get it out in front of people, and then start posting. I do think that Pinterest and Instagram still would be a good strategy. If the main thing is just getting folks to follow, and it's not the numbers game. It's not a matter of let's get to 1,000 people following you. It's just one at a time, and connecting, thanking them for joining and connecting with them, sharing it's not always about you posting too. It's about you engaging with other people too. So
yeah, and if you're looking for a boost, don't forget that there's, also paid amplification available on a lot of those networks. I know Instagram just introduced advertising, and Pinterest offers promoted pins. So, if you need sales now and you have some type of budget, I'd say that, that would be a good place to start, just to look at what content's really resonating with your audience.
Yeah, that's true. I find out that people are more focused on quantity instead of quality of your followers, and you know what I mean. So just try to do exactly what David says. Like try to focus on quality of your who are following you on Twitter or Pinterest or Instagram, since flowers, it's more about images. So
great point.
yeah, think
thanks.
about quality first.
So we're going to wrap this up. If we can, this has been fun because we've got more people come in as we've been doing this. But just a recap, you guys can listen to, if you're interested in the more local SEO things we talked about at the beginning. I interviewed Brian about some local tips that you can do yourselves. The importance of NAP, which is the name, address, and phone number, getting your directories strong and consistent. We talked about the importance of blogging and how often to do that, and then also some of the social platforms to be on and how often. So you can kind of skim through that. These are, if those are new to Blab, these will stay. You can follow us on Twitter, and you'll see our replay there, and you can kind of slip through that. And if you guys have any other questions for us, you can reach out to Brian or myself on Twitter or on our websites as well. Just as we're closing up, Brian, just quickly tell people again, for those who are joining us now, what it is that you do again, since they weren't here at the beginning, and then how they can contact you.
For sure. So I run a full-service digital marketing agency in Huntington Beach, California, called Congruent Digital. That's congruentdigital.com. We offer content marketing, social media marketing services, search engine optimization, and pay-per-click, and really pride ourselves on taking on clients and implementing strategy that starts with an audience first approach. So if you're a small local business and you have any questions about how your marketing channels are currently working for you and what you can do to increase your online visibility, I'd love to chat. Twitter's great. But also you can connect with me via the form on my website as well.
Great. Yeah, I've used your services too, and my clients have been real happy with your work too. And that's why I had you on the show today. So Brian is a real expert in keeping up on SEO because it's always changing. You got to keep up with Google and what they're up to, and of course Yahoo and Bing and all those guys too. But it's an ever-changing field, and new things like Blab pop up too. And you're like, what is Blab? And Periscope. So there are cool tools, and thanks for pumping in today. And I'll have you on next time to talk more. We'll get I like to break it down into like social platforms, and we'll talk about that next time. What to do on Instagram, what to do on Facebook, some strategy there that you're seeing working. So
awesome. Well, thanks, David, and for everyone that was watching. This was a great first Blab experience. I appreciate it.
Amel, thanks for coming in here too. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Amel.
Bye.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Brian, for having me.